All right, David Faber here. Today is Wednesday, October the 5th, 2011, and we're talking about bootstrapping great ideas into great cash flows. Nobody better to talk with about that than this guy. So specifically bootstrapping using the 1,000 True Fans model. And if you're unfamiliar with the 1,000 True Fan model, you can email David at davidfaber.com and ask me about the best link for that article. So anyway, you're in for a treat this morning. I've got a wicked, smart, super cool friend on the phone. So introduce yourself. What's your name and claim to fame?
My name is David Gonzalez. My claim to fame is I didn't realize I was famous yet.
Oh, dude, man. Well, infamous or I don't know.
Yeah, no.
So I got to tell everybody who's listening, David Gonzalez, it's kind of an interesting story. As a child, he wasn't wanted, and now he's wanted in 12 states. Oh, I apologize.
Yeah, no. My ideas of what famous means are just pretty. to anybody who's not at least as I don't know.
Well, talk about your big activity and also how people can hook up with you, buddy.
All right. Well, in the digital marketing entrepreneur space, or anyone who wants to learn how to market their business or their service or their passion online, lots of people in that realm know me for having started something called the Internet Marketing Party.
Yeah.
And so what was the follow-up question?
Oh, well, so what's the best way for people to hook up with you to participate in your ongoing fun adventures?
Let's see. You can internetmarketingparty.com. I've gotten that's one of my main websites.
Cool.
And reaching me, you can do David at velvetropejointventures.com.
Cool. So, for the advanced people listening to this, talk about Velvet Rope. Just give a top level view of that. I mean, we'll give a top level view of Internet Marketing Party and then also Velvet Rope.
Okay. And in case folks are watching going, I didn't know we were doing a video interview up until just a few minutes ago. So David didn't prep me with any of the questions, and I didn't know what.
Well, that'd be no good because then you could plan, right?
Yeah, I just feel like there's probably at least one person listening right now going, this guy looks like he was just, sideswiped.
Well, and that's the difference between, people that talk about working from home and people who work at home all the time, like you and me, is that, most of the time, like I did brush my hair and put on a shirt.
Yeah.
And yesterday I shaved. I didn't shave today, but I did shave yesterday. When
David called this morning, a little while before our call, anyway, we should probably get on with high level overview of Internet Marketing Party is it's a community of online marketers, and it's not just online marketers. It's anyone who has a business or a passion that they want to spread the word about and learn how to leverage the internet.
Right.
Whether it's email marketing, whether it's pay-per-click marketing, whether it's writing a compelling offer, whether it's Facebook, social media advertising, using anything that has to do with the World Wide Web, mobile marketing to get your word out, your message out more. We focus on fun and kind of like just a casual, laid-back attitude. And the way that Internet Marketing Party came into being is that whenever I'd go to conferences, seminars, or workshops, I was noticing that they always have a speaker in a big conference room, and a third to a half of the folks that are paid registrants for the convention or the workshop are out in the hallway or at the bar doing the real deals. They're not in the room listening to the speaker. So every once in a while I would find myself in the room listening to the speaker, and 9 times out of 10 it was just a big pitch fest. They were giving away some content, and at the very end it was like, but if you want the whole story, you've got to buy my $2,000 package at the back of the room.
Yeah, that's no good.
But every once in a while I'd go listen to somebody who was a good friend of mine on stage, and either it didn't matter that it was a pitch fest because what they were giving was really valuable, or it was a good friend who was doing well enough they didn't need to pitch anything. So their content was really, really good. And I went, I wonder how many other people there are out there that, you know, would like to hear something like this. So because I had a pretty extensive network of very, very, very successful online marketing superstars, I started putting together this thing called the Internet Marketing Party. It's we just celebrated our 3-year anniversary, and what we realized is that instead of bringing the speaker to a hotel or a convention center where people would then sneak out and get drunk and do deals at the bar,
do business in the back.
Yeah, that we would just bring the speaker to the bar, and that's what we've done.
Well, one of the things you're famous for saying is, you know, party in the front, business in the back, right? So you just put them both together, so it's party and business in front and back all together. We call it the reverse mullet, you know, the mullet hairdo. So yeah, I'm party in the front, yeah, babe.
Business in the back.
Business in the back. That's funny.
Anyway, so that's put me at the center of a lot of some of the best. I mean, some of the biggest, best names that you've heard of, the gurus, the industry experts, are making good money, meaning 10, 15, 20 million a year. But the guys that are really making money, and what I mean by it is like 50, 60, 70, 80 million and up, some of those folks are coming into my circle because they see that they're, you know, one of the things I learned, I'm surprised I had never heard it, but I heard Bill Phillips say it from stage, and that's at an event a couple of months ago, and that's all business is basically a giant ecosystem.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's not, as an entrepreneur, your job is to create something from nothing and build it to the point that a bigger fish swallows it.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, so you should start as an entrepreneur with the exit strategy in mind, and
Yep.
that exit strategy optimally is being bought out by a bigger company that isn't in the business of making things. They're in the business of acquiring things that work well.
Yeah, and running
When I
them.
heard
Yeah.
that, it kind of shifted my whole thinking about a lot of things. Anyway, so
Well, give a quick top level overview of Velvet Rope Ventures too, for people that are, you know, in that category that might use that.
Right. Yeah, I've got a business partner with the Velvet Rope joint venture business. His name's Jonathan Herbert, and he's more the face of that business. We do really well because of the Internet Marketing Party puts us at the hub of all these rock star marketers and really folks that are doing very well online. And what Velvet Rope Joint Ventures is we are a marketing campaign facilitation company. So
Cool.
we match mailers, email marketers that have big captive audiences of email lists and blog readers and iPod or what is it called when you listen to podcasts, all these iPod podcast audiences.
Yeah, it's the radio station model where a radio show host has a big following, and you're the radio show host, sort of, and also the guest. So
Right.
the host has got a big following, and if a guest would like to come on the show and talk to the following, you're the broker that puts the guest together with the host.
Yeah, and so it's like that as well as the advertiser, because the advertiser could either be an affiliate or it could be the actual merchant.
Right.
And in the case you're talking about, the guest actually has a product or an offer or a service.
Right.
But in this case, it could be the guest's affiliate that, you know, puts an ad on the station break.
Yeah,
And
so the other part of the radio show model is that, you know, you've got sponsors, like if you got a radio show running and if you got, like, you know, some sort of soap commercial or something. So so if you have a big list or a product that works with, that you imagine might work with a big list, then you can get in touch with Dave and Jonathan and you know, But be aware that you'll get vetted, right? Tell them your vetting process.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just having a conversation with a friend this morning, and I didn't realize that in the internet marketing space, because I didn't get involved to become a JV broker, but I didn't realize, because I kind of found myself here, that because it happens so organically, that most people in the internet marketing space look at JV brokers as whores. And filthy whores too.
Interesting.
Yeah, because they'll basically sell whatever for whoever, and we don't.
Well, but that's not how you run your business,
right? So we are not that, and but it's funny because sometimes you have to use a word that people are familiar with, even if that word isn't one that I want associated with. But what we do is we represent offers. We'll only represent offers once we have a real clear idea of who they've performed best with, like what audiences they've performed best with, and what audiences they've performed poorly with. Because then what we do is we match them up with audiences that are most like the ones that they've performed well with. And we keep a really, really detailed database of both the audience as well as the merchant side. We call them mailers, but for folks listening, they might not know what that means. So it's the audience, it's the folks with the big audience, and we interview them as well, and we identify what offers have done best and worst with them. So when we put people together, it doesn't matter if the merchant and the mailer are best friends. If they haven't worked together, we facilitate that campaign. So it's not about an introduction. It's not about, I mean, it could be two people that invited me to dinner with them, and I facilitate their campaign, even though they already knew each other, because they invited me together.
Well, talk about the vetting process for merchants too, because I think that's something that most people, they come up with a product idea or service idea, and they think they're going to go out to somebody with a 250,000 person list and just have them mail for them, and that ain't the way it works.
Right.
So talk about your 4 or 5 points that your checklist that you go down with new merchants or providers.
Well, first of all is your offer must be valid. I mean, your product's got to do what it says it does.
It's got to be real and do it. Do what it says. Yeah. Yeah,
because I can tell you that I've got a case that will keep your iPhone charged for 2 weeks and have a 99% conversion rate on it. But if it's really just nothing more than a piece of plastic that doesn't really do that, I don't want to have anything to do with it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's got to actually work as advertised is number one. Number two is after it works as advertised, it's still got to have great customer support behind it.
Yep.
Because sometimes just because something works as advertised, the end user might not realize that you've got to click the specific little hidden button back here, and if you've got a team of outsourced customer support folks that have a hard time with the English language, that's not going to fly for us. And in case anybody's wondering why that matters to us as the campaign facilitators, is because we're representing the audience's side. And so if we bring them a great offer that converts really well, but then once their audience buys it, they get upset because they couldn't get anybody to answer their questions.
Right. It
reflects poorly on us. It makes us look like, oh, you made me some money, but now half the people on my show or in my audience are upset with me because, and they've opted off of listening to my show anymore because I promoted this thing that supposedly worked. It does work, but I couldn't figure it out. So there's that, and so there's.
That kind of goes back to the rule of that great marketing sells product, and great product and great service keeps great product sold.
Right. So it's internal systems and external perception is another way that I've heard it. And then the third is just that it's got to convert. That conversions have to do well, and that has more to do with the offer than the product. So it's conversions. It's that the product does what it says when you advertise, when you make it convert. And then third is that it's got good customer support, And
Well,
fourth,
to explain to if somebody's kind of new to the lingo of online marketing and all this backroom sort of JV design, explain what conversions and EPC might mean.
okay, well, conversions mean that a conversion rate depends on what you're looking at, but in this case, we're talking about sales conversion.
Right.
And it means that if I drive 100 people, 100 visitors to your website or to your offer, whatever that looks like, that at least an industry minimum, because it ranges from market and niche to niche, so I'm not going to give an actual number. My
Special effects.
That's Dexter, my dog.
That's Dexter sharing.
Just got here. So, hey. Wrapping up this. Are we wrapping up? I think we're wrapping up, right?
Well, we're going to have to speed up here, but anyway, go ahead and wrap up on this little bit here.
Yeah. So, conversion rate refers to the number of individuals who actually purchase the offer that was put in front of them. So, if
10 people buy, then you get a 10% conversion rate out of 100.
Right. And so when I reference conversions, if the industry standard is a 5% conversion rate, and somebody comes to me and they go, "Hey, will you promote my stuff? I hear you have access to millions and millions of emails." I'll say, "Well, how's your product converting?" And if they look at me like I just asked them, do they believe in aliens?
Yep.
Then it's a no-go, because I'm not going to test my, I'm not in the business of building their offer.
Right.
I'm in the business of matching good people. And
you're a matchmaker.
And then facilitating that process, because it's not just a matter of going, David meet John, meet David, go do business. It's a matter of, kind of explaining to one and the other why they might need to tweak their marketing message for this person's audience, and why this person's, even though this isn't the normal kind of offer that their audience is used to getting, that this quirky offer did really, really well with this other audience that's just like theirs, and would have never believed, but it was a fluke over here, so we were willing to see if it's a fluke over here too.
So what's EPC? Tell people what that is and how that relates to conversions.
EPC is earnings per click, and that means that if it typically refers to email marketing, but obviously it's not limited to just email marketing. But in the email marketing space, it means if you've got a list of 1,000 people on your, we bring you an offer, and for every 100 people that click, how many people click on the link, how many of them will actually buy? Yeah,
so you've got 1,000 people and 100 people click through, and then you might have 10 people buy, so that's the conversion.
Yeah, that's the earnings per click. It means for every person that click, how many dollars were earned.
Yep.
And on average, that's a number that's a little more standard, but even that ranges on whether it's what the offer is. If it's straight to a sales page versus going to a webinar, those are two very different earnings per click, because one is where you're basically giving somebody a lot of great content in the webinar and a bit of a educational component where people go, "Wow, that's really great," and then they're presented with an offer, as opposed to just driving them to a sales page where you're leaving it up to their attention span as to whether or not the offer is going to convert. Right. So an earnings per click on a straight sales page, anything over $1 is typically going to be worth consideration, and in a webinar model, anything over $2 to $4 is going to be worth consideration. Worthy of consideration. And
well, that'll be good, so that way people will only contact you if they've actually, won't waste your time. They'll know what they got to do. All right, well, we're going to have to blaze through the rest of this, buddy.
Okay.
So back to Internet Marketing Party. How'd you attract your first true fan? How'd you bootstrap it?
Well, I didn't even realize that I was bootstrapping it until just recently. Because I wasn't doing it out of, let's put it this way. I didn't even realize that I had my first true fan until just recently as well. I'm kind of, there's certain things that how I even got involved in the internet marketing space was I read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, and I had just sold $1 million a year business, and I realized after getting out of that business that the next thing that I did, I wanted to be more of a lifestyle business, something that I didn't really feel like I was working so much as that I was just engaged in the process of living and of doing something that made me feel alive and that I was also making money from. And so when I got involved in the internet marketing community, I didn't know where I fit, but I did know that everybody kept saying I was a great networker and great facilitator of, kind of a social lubricant. Like I help bring people together, and people just felt taken care of and hosted, no matter where I was. So I put together this networking event, and I think the first one had 30 or 40 people at it.
So how'd you start that? I mean, so you just picked a bar and sent out an email to some friends, or how'd you bootstrap for your gig? Yeah,
just picked a location and told them I had no idea how many people I'd have there, but that worst case scenario was going to be bringing them business, and we negotiated out a deal, and there was a little bit of risk there, but it wasn't real risk. It was psychological risk, but I mean there was actual financial risk.
Cool.
But sometimes that's actually pretty valuable because it kicks you into high gear in a way that if there's no risk, you just go, let's see what sticks. Whereas if there's real risk there, you put the pedal to the metal in a different way. So what I did is I reached out to I don't know how many people I reached out to. I think the first time I probably contacted about 20 or 30 people, and I just told them that this would be a great opportunity for networking and for brainstorming and masterminding and joint ventures to happen, and they showed up. And
that's the same way we started too. It's 50 people out of my address book, and that bootstrapped into a global business 10 years later.
Right, which leads me to the point of if anybody's listening right now and they go, I don't have 50 people in my address book that I could reach out to, then you might want to consider looking inwards and asking yourself, what could you do different? Because if you're not connected to at least 50 people that you could pick up the phone and would come to something, would show up, then chances are you've been taking more than giving for too long.
That's a good point too. Maybe I'll start up a couple of smaller projects that are creating your first 10 or 100 true fans for people that 1,000 is too big a number. That's interesting. I hadn't even thought about that.
I hadn't either. We talk all the time, and I think 9 out of 10 conversations we have, we go, damn, we should have recorded that.
Yeah. Well, let's rock on here, buddy, because we got a few more questions and we're running close on time here. Share your top 3 ways for people to attract their first or next 1,000 true fans.
Top 3 ways?
Yeah. Tips, tricks, tech, whatever.
I mean, I always get psychologically, I always get tripped up with the top 3 ways, because especially since I wasn't prepped with these questions. So I'm just going to come up with 3 ways, not the top 3 ways. I'm kind of literal in my thinking. So 3 ways. One is create something of real value that is not obvious, and that, like, in other words, put some elbow grease into it, put some sweat into it, like.
So make something unique, in other words, right?
Yeah, don't just like another free report on something that any jackass could Google and find on their own. Like, really think it. I mean, put your creative hat on and think. And one way to do that is to take a survey. Ask 5 people in the space, whatever market you're in. And by the way, don't pick internet marketing. It's not because I don't want competitors. I mean, I'm so far ahead. But just
I'd say the same thing. Internet marketing. I think people mistake. They think internet marketing is somehow some sort of business, and really, internet marketing is machinery to facilitate something promoted of true value.
Yeah, because let me tell you why picking internet marketing is the worst thing ever. I actually just read a report by Rob Toff, who out of Vancouver, a really good friend of mine and somebody you should check out. I had never heard anybody crystallize it this way, but information marketing is a multi-billion-dollar a year industry. Okay, and out of all the different information marketing spaces, whether it's how to open how to do karate, to how to grow the perfect tomato garden, to how to homeschool your kids, to how to put insulation in your ad. It doesn't matter what it is. The only marketplace where information marketing requires that you give big financial claims is internet marketing.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Interesting. Yeah.
So if you want to become a successful internet marketer as an info publisher, as an information marketer, you have to give proof that you've made a lot of money as an internet marketer. And
or you can do like most internet marketers and just lie about it, right?
Exactly. So, and even then, okay, so the ones that are you're competing against liars or against people who really are making boatloads of cash.
It's a tough market to,
And you're also competing against people who are exquisite at what they do, because the ones that are really making boatloads of cash, they're really good at what they do. And because it really, really works, the best thing to do in the whole world is to take the techniques that you're learning in internet marketing and apply them to something like how to grow the perfect rose garden.
Yeah.
Or think about it this way: whatever you that are listening right now or watching right now have done for the last 7 years consistently at your job, at whatever think, look at your bookshelf, look at your YouTube channel views, look at what is it that you're naturally doing on a regular basis? Look at your receipts. Go to Quicken or QuickBooks and look at the non-essential things that you've bought over the last 7 years. And that's what you're naturally inclined towards. And if you say, oh, it's all about business and marketing, well, then figure out what specific element of business and marketing you always lean towards. And if you say, well, it's always about how to make money with marketing, well, then figure out how to become a really good copywriter and then do something on. But even, my guess is most people that are listening right now haven't all just bought primarily books on marketing and business. There's got to be some other interest you have.
Well, I call it the 10-year rule too. Whatever you've done for the last 10 years almost every day without pay, likely you'll do for the next 10 years every day without pay.
Yeah.
And so if the challenge is if you pick some random topic, like a buddy of mine read some internet marketing report here recently and decided that golfers were a good market to sell to. He's never picked up a golf club, never been to a golf green, and now he started a golf tip site. So he's a poser. And so don't randomly drink the internet marketing Kool-Aid and read something or think that you've come up with some great new thing. Do what you know, right? So the three things that I pulled out of what you said is that create something unique of true value, use surveying to determine how to design your product, and then be sure and pick a niche that you know enough about where you can actually create something of unique value.
And optimally, pick an element of your niche that you actually are interested in.
Right.
So if you're listening right now and you go, well, the thing I've been doing for the last 10 years has been being a bookkeeper and I hate my job. Well, then identify what's kept you doing bookkeeping for 10 years in spite of the fact that you hate it, and write a report about come up with your 23 tips on how to stay sane as a bookkeeper, or how to make bookkeeping interesting. Because I guarantee you right now there are tens of thousands of people who are not doing bookkeeping. They're bookkeeping because they find it dreadful, and you figured out how to make it, palatable enough to do it for 10 years. And that's just obviously an example.
Well, another way to look at that too is Chris Anderson's longtailing, where like in my niche, I started out with health, and then alternative health, and then vegetarianism, veganism, raw foodism, superfood. So longtailing, going farther and farther down the long tail to become more and more tightly niched, where there's the niche is much smaller and the people are more avid fans of whatever the niche relates to.
Right.
Yeah. All right, let's rock and roll here. So running engines require fuel. Two big engines in any activity, you and your true fan machine. So first off, what's your best tips, tricks, and tech for keeping yourself running at continuous peak energy, mood, and focus?
Well, you know the answer to that.
Well, you got the same answer that I do, probably.
Right. Yeah. I love chocolatebliss.com.
Yeah, I bet. So for David Gonzalez's big secret, go to ilovechocolatebliss.com and buy, a year's worth of everything there, right?
Exactly. And it's spelled just like it sounds. I love chocolatebliss.com.
Yeah. So,
obviously one of them is my wife and I, ching, drink stuff. I mean, it's funny because I when I first heard you say that you've lived primarily on this stuff for 7 years, I was like, wow, well, he looks pretty healthy. So I'll try that for $1. And so I'm going on 2 years now. And, my friends, a lot of my partner, Jonathan, always, brags. He goes, yeah, Dave will be up till 3 a.m. and he'll be the first one up in the morning. Cause I hang out with all these guys like drinking copious amounts of alcohol and all sorts of other stuff till 3 or 4 in the morning. And they're, usually asleep till 10 or 11. And I'm up, ding, 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 like sending emails and doing stuff. But,
same way with me, man. I mean, the best way is to run your body at continuous peak, and I can't imagine doing that on inebriants.
Right.
Or cooked, processed, dead animal, mystery meat.
Right.
So
there's that's one. Another is, let me think here. Balance. I do my best to not work more than an hour or two at a time without getting up and taking my dog for a walk or doing something. Like I don't just staying seated, for 4, 5, 6 hours. I hear guys bragging like, I've been just at my computer sitting for 8 hours straight working on copy and blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's not really something that you should be bragging about.
No, that sounds unfun to me.
Well, and to them, I think they, I don't know. I don't think they're producing their best work that way.
Yeah.
That they're just, whatever. But a third, a third piece is do something that's fun. Do whatever. It ties in with what we were talking about earlier. But if what you're doing doesn't necessarily feel like work, you're going to be energized by it. If you're doing like your buddy that's the golf tips, pro as of yesterday, it's probably not going to be fun because it's like you're learning a whole new activity in a new language while you're learning the new language. It's like you're doing two things at once, and that's going to be very taxing. So,
cool.
I tend to lean towards doing things that I have a natural affinity for or a natural interest in. And that makes it to where it doesn't really feel like I'm,
Yeah, for me, my rule is if it ain't fun, it don't get done.
Right.
All right. Well, so if you had to start over today, bootstrapping your activities, anything you'd do different, or would you do the same thing? Just send out an email and say, "Let's get together and party."
Pick something that you, in your heart of hearts, and if you looked yourself in the mirror in a really like important moment, that you can truly, truly, with every fiber of your soul, know that 10 years from now, you can still be doing that, and you're still going to be just as interested in it.
That's good. That's a good piece of advice there.
Because otherwise, people are just. It kind of circles back to that thing where I said if there aren't 50 people you could call that would show up if you invited them to something, chances are you've gotten to be known as a flake that's just jumping from thing to thing.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really have a kind of like a brand or something that you're known to be passionate about and really interested in and really to be an authority in. So, yeah.
Well, that sounds like some good words of wisdom to wrap up with.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, you're welcome. And if you'd like to hook up and hear more from David, if you're in or near Austin, be sure and join us this Saturday at Beats for Breakfast.
All right, Beats for Breakfast.
Beats for Breakfast. Take care, buddy.
Take care. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Ciao.
All right. Bye-bye.